because your job pays you, because that's your livelihood, you will do everything you have to for it. You can show up every single day, Monday through Friday. Sometimes people working 6, 7 days for somebody else, but when it comes to you, you don't have that same respect. The reason people can move the goalposts for their business, the reason it's negotiable, is because they don't actually expect that goal to happen. They don't expect themselves to achieve it at like a very just deep level. Because again, motivation is not my tool, structure and momentum are. And that's what's going to help you when real life happens. I want to welcome you to episode 43 of Everything Entrepreneurship with Jerome Carter, because this is the place, this is the home, this is the podcast for ambitious professionals just like you who are building their dreams in between meetings, after work, and before the sun rises. In this episode, I'm breaking down why your job gets your discipline, your responsibilities get your attention, but your own business keeps on getting the leftovers. I'm talking why your own goals still feel negotiable and how to change that today. Now, if it's your first time here, there's a good chance, especially if you're on YouTube, that algorithm puts you in front of me for a reason. You're most likely past the hype. You're most likely past the motivation, and you need substance in your entrepreneurial journey. But I want to say you're in the right place, because that's what I'm here to do. This is going to be your new favorite entrepreneurship podcast. But before we dive in, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Jerome Carter, or KJC. Full name or initials, it doesn't matter, so long as you use one of the two. I left my 9-to-5 in 2019. I've since then built a marketing agency where we help business owners through strategy and execution. And I started this podcast to help entrepreneurial employees just like you, because I was in your shoes and there's too much fluff out there. There's not enough substance. So with that being said, if you haven't already, grab your snack, grab your drink, grab your notepad, whatever it might be, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to have a great episode. And let's get it. All right, as I said in the intro, if you're on this video, this episode, this podcast, you're not here for hype. You're not here for hustle. You're not here for fluff. I'm here to give you substance and structure. What can you do today that will impact you right now, as well as what's the foundation that you can lay so this also helps you in the long term? I'm going to break this down conceptually, practically. Before I go deep, I'm going to make sure that we have a solid understanding of what we're here for and why so many people are just suffering from this. Because if you're like most people, when it comes to your job, the work you do for them is non-negotiable. It doesn't matter if you have to stay late. It doesn't matter if you have to lose some sleep. You will get the job, not just for your 9-to-5. As I always say, there's people working 40, 50, 60 hours, but can't invest that same energy or that same drive, their own passion for themselves. It becomes non-negotiable. The goalpost can be moved, and it's just not right. But whereas on a surface level, this might look like a time management video, in my research, I find it's much deeper than that. So before we dive deep, let's just tackle what it is that's stopping people, more or less, right? If you have work that has to get done, it doesn't matter how long it takes you, because your job pays you, because that's your livelihood, you will do everything you have to for it. However, when it comes to your goals, if you put aside 1 hour or 30 minutes, there's a good chance that that time can be interrupted. That if for some reason you can't get that work done, that it gets pushed off. And if it gets pushed off, there's a chance that the work doesn't get done. And thus, you can show up every single day, Monday through Friday. Sometimes people working 6, 7 days for somebody else. But when it comes to you, you don't have that same respect even. But it's not a mystery, right? I'm going to break down exactly what's happening here. But first, let me give you some examples. Anybody that has had purchases to make that still has bills, right? If you have to pay for something, and it doesn't have to be something life or death, if it's a purchase that we aren't excited about, it can get pushed to the side, right? If it's something that you have to buy to fix something in the house, sometimes you might be like, I'll get it eventually. If it's something for the car or a parking ticket, whatever it might be, when is it due? I can get to it eventually, right? However, when you're presented with the opportunity to make a purchase for something that gets you motivated and excited, let's just say you want to buy a new camera, a new iPhone, a new TV, whatever it might be, a big purchase in or around something that you like, something that you care about, something that you value, it's an instant decision and that purchase gets made right then and there. Or you might hesitate to take some time to consider if it's worth it, but you're still going to make sure that there's a way that you can make that thing happen. But again, one way, a purchase that doesn't excite us, doesn't get us moved into any rhythm or any vibration, allows us to say, I'll get to it when I can. When it's a purchase that's in or around something that you care about or something that's going to affect you in a big way, I need to get this as soon as possible, right? Anybody that's on call, right? I'm not talking about just like an on-call doctor that has to wake up at the middle of the night, just go and do the job, like surgery or something. I'm talking about somebody that's on call in any capacity where you still have to just take down information to some capacity while you're not on working hours, right? So if you're working 9 to 5, and let's just say you're on call 1 day a week or 2 days a week or on the weekend, what I find just time and time again, some work that has to get done, even when they're not working, it becomes non-negotiable that they have to get that thing done. It has to be done perfectly. It has to be done timely. But that same energy doesn't go into when you have to put 30 minutes or an hour aside to get some work done for yourself, for your business, so you can progress forward, right? So you can better your situation. We understand how chaotic, unpredictable, and just insane times are right now. Everything is getting more expensive and most people are not making more money. As of today, I believe the average American now makes $62,000. But I'm not just talking about people that are there or people that are below that or even people that are making well over $200,000. Money is an actual issue for everybody. And one of the main motivational factors for people to have a side hustle or business is to have some financial freedom in some capacity. So they're not only reliant on their 9 to 5 to make money, they can then make more than what their 9 to 5 is. So if we know that there is an importance, if we know that you should get motivated and have this enthusiasm and this passion to build your business, how come time and time again it still can be put on the back burner or it still can be a second priority? It's just not right. So let's look at what's actually happening. Now, while I feel you don't need anything overly woo-woo or anything crazy to get work done, I'm a big proponent of momentum, right? How can we set things up so that the work still gets done when things happen, when life happens, and we don't feel good? That's like my North Star that you're going to hear me preach time and time again. How do we create this momentum so that we can get the work done when we don't feel like it? But if we take a moment to just look at some other reasons as to why this might be happening, why work gets the priority in our own business sometimes doesn't, what we find is no matter if it's your end goal or an immediate next goal, like a benchmark that you have to achieve, many times the reason people can move the goalpost for their business, the reason it's non-negotiable is because they don't actually expect that goal to happen. They don't expect themselves to achieve it at like a very just deep level, right? If you tell somebody, hey, do you think you're going to make your goal by the end of the year? Do you think you're going to stick to your New Year's resolution? Do you think you're going to get that certification? They're going to say yes. But if they thought yes, they would do what's needed in order to make it happen. One of my favorite quotes. Where is that? Right there. Down on the mountain. Putting in the work to achieve your goals is the only proof that you have as to whether you truly want something or not. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I mean, as a business owner, it really doesn't matter if you felt like it. It doesn't matter if you talk about it. What matters is, did you do it, right? And I'm not talking about the journey. I'm talking about like the result. Results matter, right? So when we look at, or when we actually question, does somebody expect to achieve their goals? You start to understand something that's, I want to say, timeless. I got this concept initially from watching Bob Proctor's Born Rich. I think that was recorded in like the 70s. And I just did research over the years, like in the last 10 years, to just really figure out why. More so in this last like 2 years when I started taking on like consultations and stuff, because I don't want to just tell somebody, do the work. Although if you just do the work, you're that 3% of people that can do the work. If that other 97% that just needs a little push, I need to back up that push with some facts, right? But it's a true thing. If there's a disconnect between what you want and what you expect to happen, then there's a chance that that's the reason why your goal is negotiable. Let me put it like this. To want or to desire the thing is to really get turned on by the thought or the vision of achieving that thing, right? Whatever your goal is. But to expect it is to move yourself the best that you can mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually to align with that thing. For example, if you think it's going to rain, then let's just say the Weather Channel said there's a 30 to 40% chance of rain today. And if you think it's going to rain, you might bring an umbrella to stay dry. However, if you expect that it's going to rain, then there's nothing that can keep you from bringing an umbrella because you know it's going to happen. It's something similar when it comes to your goals. If you think it can happen, you're not going to do what you need to do to be prepared for when the thing does happen, right? But if you expect it, then you're going to make sure that you move heaven and earth to be in position to handle that thing as it happens. Now, if we dive a little bit deeper, what I find that disconnect between the desire and the expectation and doing what you need to do to prepare to receive what you want, i.e. the goal, the end goal, whatever it might be, is typically one of two things. Somebody either has a self-image problem or they have a clarity problem. Now, stay with me when I go over self-image, because again, I'm not here to do the woo-woo. I'm just giving you some solid facts. If you haven't read Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, read that thing. I'm telling you, it'll change not just your perspective, it'll change your life. Like, it really will. Now, self-image as it pertains to this means you could potentially not see yourself as the person that's going to get the job done for themselves, or to value their own time, or to value the own success that they could have from their business as you should. You potentially could be seeing a version of yourself or somebody else that continues to not prioritize the work that they need to get done, right? And the self-image is it's literally almost the end all be all. You cannot do anything more or anything less than what your self-image is, right? And a little quick psychology lesson. There's not a single action that we take without consciously or subconsciously having a mental image. Whether I'm going to stand up out this chair, whether I'm going to press record, whether I'm about to type, there's a very split second, like just image that goes in our brain. And that's a mental image. And a mental image precedes any and every action that we do. So if a mental image is that powerful, what do you think that says about your self-image? If you don't truly understand that you are the person to do the thing or to achieve the thing, it's just going to be a disconnect. Again, it's going to be a conflict as to why you should even do it. That's when doubt comes. That's when you start questioning yourself. That's when you spend so much time in that conflict that the time passes and I just have to do it next time, next week, next month, tomorrow, whatever it might be. It's cool. Don't worry about it. But again, when it comes to work, your self-image is clean. You see yourself as a good employee that's not late, that doesn't cause problems, that gets their work done. But when it comes to being an entrepreneur, that self-image is conflicted. And then when we tie that with the fact that, again, everything is just so chaotic in this world, that if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're making a certain amount of money, whether it's a little bit or a lot to your context, but you still know that you need more money, not because money is going to bring you happiness, not because money is going to solve everything, but because a second form of income allows you to prepare for or handle or to solve certain problems that money can handle, right? I always tell people, America has 3 rules. You hear me? America has 3 rules and you got to follow them all. I always say America has 3 rules. Rule number 1. Okay. I always say it's just a lot going on, and it's just a lot going on. It's a lot to process and it's a lot to handle every single day. But I always say America has 3 rules. Rule number 1, make more money. Rule number 2, you better not get caught trying to do anything illegal to make more money. And rule number 3, make more money. America doesn't say anything about saving or investing. At the very end of the day, if you're trying to move up, you need to make more money. So if a business or a side hustle is the lowest barrier of entry most times for people to make some more money, more than their salary, more than their 40 or 80 hours every 2 weeks, you have to act on that. You can't just feel it. You can't just think it. And again, when it comes time, not in your 9 to 5, but your 5 to 9, to act on it so you can build that business or side hustle to make the more money. If you don't have a self-image of a person that can just be that person, then you're going to have conflict. As well as if during your job time or when you're off work or before work that you're having conversations with people that just aren't supportive, or you're just not in a good environment that might be saying, why do you want more than that? Look at you. You haven't made this much in a single month. Why do you think you can make that in a year or something like that? It's hard. And that's why self-image is so huge. And it's not something that you can just snap your fingers and fix today. I do have a few things that you can do today, but as it pertains to why you can't get, this is some sort of just harmony with your goals to know that you have to get the job done. If you can't make sure that it's non-negotiable. I had a manager back when I worked at PNC Bank, and she just always would say, this is non-negotiable. If it was something new that had to get done or whatever, my bad for the little tangent, but she used to always say, it's non-negotiable. Like that meant like, hey, I mean it. It got to get done. But if your goal is non-negotiable, if your goal is not if your goal is negotiable, then it might be a self-image problem, right? But if it's not self-image, you could be in the realm of, you just have a clarity problem. You don't know what to actually do. And now in this day and age, with all the information online, with these large language models like ChatGPT and such, information should not be our problem, but rather just the sheer number of opinions and perspectives and time that you spend learning the thing opposed to doing the thing. The people that don't necessarily have the self-image problem that's stopping them, but have the clarity problem, typically have the analysis paralysis. They'll have a great idea, they'll try for a while, and the next thing you know, they end up on the next thing because it's too complicated. They have shiny object syndrome, or they just burn themselves out and feel like, why should I even? It's too much work. When all reality, it really isn't. You can get this job done. And one quick thing that I find with people that have a clarity problem, they can benefit from faking it till you make it. But no, I don't mean the way that you probably think, because most people only know fake it till you make it like 50% of what it actually is, right? People think, if I want to be a successful real estate broker, right, I'm going to fake it till I make it. They think, fake it, I'm going to just go to these events and take pictures and say I'm here, right? I'm just going to make sure that I'm in the rooms with the people that are also real estate brokerage owners or stuff like that. I'm just going to say that I make all this money, that I close these deals. I'm going to embellish or exaggerate all this stuff. That's not fake it till you make it. And whoever told you that is just dead wrong. Fake it till you make it actually can work, and there's nothing like unethical about it. To fake it till you make it, you have to first understand who that person is that does the thing that you want to do. If we're taking the example of a real estate brokerage owner, who is that person? You might want to spend some time to figure out what are some things that they overcame. And then you also want to figure out what is it that they do and what is it that they did to get to that level. You're not comparing your step 1 to their step 20, but rather getting a sense or getting an understanding of what they had to do. For example, if you're working up 9 to 5 and you're working a 9 to 5, maybe what they did, they used some of that time, their break on their 9 to 5. Maybe what they did, they woke up earlier and they made sure that they introduced or had these conversations, or they did something to help them as they were a real estate agent before a broker owner. Or after work, what they did was X, Y, or Z. To fake it till you make it basically means figure out what the person did to get there and follow in those steps best you can, while still having the belief that you have made it already, because that moves you into the right vibration. You're in the actual rooms doing what needs to get done, and you're literally there outside of the quote unquote tangible success or having the actual brokerage, whatever it is in this example. Fake it till you make it can be so useful if you understand how to do it. If I want to be I don't know, what's another example? A marketing agency owner. What am I going to do? Am I just going to quit my job like KJC? No, because I told you I'm not going to tell you to just do what I did. There's only maybe 3% of people or 2% of people that can handle that. Don't do it. I'm telling you. But what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what steps did I take, and you're going to do that without the success. That's an example of faking it till you make it. But by doing that, you then treat your time to work on your business or your company or your idea or your side hustle as if it is non-negotiable. You can't move that goalpost. And that's one thing that benefits the people that just have that clarity problem. All right, so now we got just in time, just in case. Like, what can you do today? Just in time information. I want you to, after you finish this episode, or pause it right now, and to do this thing so you can see, wow, this does work. And if you haven't already, press subscribe. It's like, golly, this guy's onto something. It works. And then you can take into account the just in case, something that you can do this week. So what do you have to do today? If you, for whatever reason, find yourself not prioritizing, making negotiable your goals that you can progress further so you can be a successful, not just entrepreneur, but business owner. You can make more money so that you can choose if you want to leave your job or not. I'm not telling you just to quit. This is what you can do today. I want you to set an alarm for 15 minutes today. I don't care if you're watching this at like 11 o'clock at night. Set the alarm for 11:30, 11:45. Doesn't matter. If you're at work right now and you're listening to this podcast, maybe you set it for when your break is, or maybe you set it for when you get home, whatever it might be. You're setting a non-negotiable 15 minutes in which I want you to do 3 things. You're going to break it up 5 minutes at a time. In the first 5 minutes, I want you to write down exactly what your goal is, and to your knowledge, everything that you have to do to achieve it. That's step number 1. Step number 2, so as soon as 5 minutes hits, you're going to take another 5 minutes. Now, I want you to write down for 5 minutes everything that can happen in your life if and when you achieve your goal completely. If you can only think of 3 things, keep on writing until the 5 minutes is over. And then after that, at minute 10, I want you to write for 5 minutes. What's everything that will not happen in your life if you continue the way you are and you don't achieve your goal? That's all you got to do. 15-minute drill, 5 minutes. What's your goal? Everything you know you need to do. 5 minutes. What's everything that's going to happen? How you're going to feel when you do achieve your goal? And then 5 minutes. What's everything that's going to happen in the event that you don't achieve your goal? And just watch how you start to, no matter if it's the clarity, no matter if it's a self-image, now we have put in front of us not only what it is, what we have to do, the benefits, as in the pros and the cons, but now we have something to work with, something tangible, something that we can actually rely upon, right? That's what you can do right now today. Set your 15 minutes, go in the comments and say, you know what, I did my 15 minutes, KJC. That'll be cool if you do that. So man, after you take your 15 minutes, go down the comment, just put I did my 15 minutes, or just comment the word 15. So I know you did it today. Now, what do you do this week? This week, no matter if you're already locked in and you're working a couple days a week after work, on the weekend, whatever it might be, as it pertains to this, you're going to set 2 non-negotiable hours where you're going to actually get work done. The key to these 2 hours is that this is non-negotiable. This is do not disturb. This is you. If you're in a relationship, you tell your girlfriend, your boyfriend. If you got a family, you tell your wife, your husband, your kids, hey, for the next hour, I cannot be interrupted. Act as if I'm at work, unless the house is on fire or the craziest thing in the world happened. Do not disturb me. I need to lock in. I watched Everything Entrepreneurship, KJC, and I'm locked in. I got to get this thing done. No, you 2 hours, you're going to set them aside, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's today, whether it's Friday. You cannot miss these, and you make sure that they're set up so that nothing can stop you from finishing what you need to do. And in those 2-hour sessions, the only thing you're going to do this week, you're going to only work on things that move the needle. How do I know what moves the needle, KJC? Well, you did spend the first 5 minutes of your 15-minute exercise today figuring out not just what it is you want, but what you need to do it. I think you can figure out for the first hour and that second hour, what's something that's only going to move the needle. Not something that's going to keep you busy, but something that's going to progress you forward. That's it. So we got, what do you got to do today? 15 minutes. What do you got to do this week? 2 individual hours. And I promise, by doing that, by counting those wins, by having proof to yourself, whether you have a self-image problem or whether it's just a clarity problem, regardless, you have the momentum to move forward, regardless of how you feel or what you think, because it's already set in stone. Because again, motivation is not my tool, structure and momentum are. And that's what's going to help you when real life happens. That's what's going to help you in this world of dopamine, this world of fluff and all this other stuff out here, right? But yeah, now that's for my entrepreneurial employees, right? I find when I switch, or I've been told, when I switch from helping out my entrepreneurial homies and I switch over to my business bros and sisses, that I get a little bit more serious, but that's because you have a full-blown business already. Like, you have not just yourself, but you have other people that depend on you. Like, that's their livelihood. So I could be a little bit more firm and stern, you feel me? I don't need to coddle you. I told you, I'm not here to tell you can do it and motivate you. I'm telling you what got to get done. Now, my business owners, again, this is not about time management. This is more about figuring out what worked in the past. So often do I find people, whether it's clients, whether it's just people I'm meeting, whether it doesn't matter. They're overwhelmed with tools right now, right? And if you got a result, many times people think it was luck, especially you entrepreneurs, like entrepreneur employees. Listen to this. You're going to do something. You're going to do a lot of things. One thing's going to stick. One thing's going to work. And you're going to find yourself questioning, oh, maybe it was luck. No, it worked for a reason. You can repeat it, right? But for my business owners, you have to go back, look in the last year to figure out what actually worked for your business. You don't need to spend all the time consuming all the content and trying every single tool out there for your business, but rather what worked, what's actually factual, what's historic data, what worked, and how can you keep doing it, right? That doesn't mean that if you did some crazy PR where you had to run into traffic naked to sell some extra shoes or food or whatever it might be, you got to do it again. No, what worked? What I find, especially when people are on their way up, that they might get a client or they might get a big success and they're just like, I don't know what it was. You do know what it was. It's right there. Make sure you do it again. You're wasting a lot of time. You're making the non-negotiable negotiable when you bring in so many different just factors, so many different things that are distractions at the end of the day. For example, if you're on Facebook or Instagram or even online, I'll just take it from a marketing perspective, right? You got tools like SEMrush, which helps you track your progress online. How are you doing? How's your website faring? Where are you showing up? Like, how are you showing up on Google Maps? How are you showing up on Google Maps and all that other stuff for the most part? SEMrush is a tool that can get it done. But with AI, they're not even with AI, before AI. So even like before 2023, there were at least 50 to 100 SEO companies, right? Or like SaaS, like software or WAS, website as a service, because that's technically what SEMrush is. You don't have to download anything. You go on the website, you pay for the subscription, and you can use your website, competitors' website, stuff like that, more or less. I digress. But basically, since AI, you have so many more people coming up to say, hey, we're the ones, we can give you your SEO data better than anybody else. What I'm basically getting at is, don't be overwhelmed with tools. There might be 50 different tools, but if they all do more or less the same thing within about 80% margin, then just stick with one thing that works for you. You don't need to just continuously have that same shiny object syndrome that my entrepreneurial employee homies have. You just stick to one thing. If you go to Home Depot and you need a drill, you're not going to just spend like an hour at the drill department and just look at all these different drills and do research on every single one of these drills and then go home and come back and get this one and return. No, you're going to get a drill because you know you need a hole that needs to get made. So you're going to get it done. The same has to be with all the different tools that you're presented with these ads and with your algorithm. Understand that you don't need so many moving parts. What can be done efficiently? How can you streamline what's needed? How can you identify not only what worked in the past, but also to replicate it again and again? Which brings me to my second part for my business owners. If you are familiar with the Pareto principle, you need to be just realigning yourself every single year with this. Basically, it says across almost everything, 20% yields 80% of the results, right? If you have a sales team of 100 people, 20 people are bringing in 80% of the volume, right? If you are at a restaurant, 20% of the items are bringing in 80% of the sales. Like, it really just doesn't matter. It's crazy how it works in life. The same way that I said you have to figure out what works and continue to do it, you also have to understand what is my primary focus as it pertains to being a business, right? If you are let's say you sell coffee, right? I got some Wawa coffee. If you sell coffee and you know that your sales to individuals are cool, but 80% of your revenue comes from or can come from a wholesale deal with a restaurant or something like that, or a grocery store, why not focus on that? Somebody like Alex Hormozy talks about that 80-20 rule, like what's bringing in like the majority. If you're a home care agency, what's very valuable to you are people that have 24/7 requirements. They need service, they need care 24 hours a day. If that's bringing in 80% of your revenue, why not focus on and find a way to get more of that so that that 20% becomes the 80%? If you're just a creator or influencer online and you're selling products, but you also have coaching, and you know that you're coaching because it's a higher ticket, that's where 80% of your revenue comes from, why not make your one-on-ones in that instance, whether it be a mastermind, a group mastermind, or just one-on-ones, the 80%? We need to focus. That's what you need to do. You need to focus on not only what's working, but also what's bringing in most of the money or most of the business. And then focus on what are other ways that you can make sure, without sacrificing integrity, character, quality, that you can continue that and just ramp it up. So, same way, just in time and just in case. What are you going to do today and what are you going to do this week? Today, I want you to put some time aside and figure out what's your 80-20. Look at your historic data, look at your sales, look at your reports, look at your analytics, look at your platforms. What is it that's bringing you that lion's share of your results? And how can you replicate more of those clients, customers, whatever it might be? And then what can you do this week? This week, again, you have to focus. And one thing that keeps business owners from focusing is putting off or delaying or not prioritizing, in this instance, the tough conversations that have to be had. Tough conversations they're not always good, but they're not always bad either. There might be a tough conversation with a supplier. It might be a tough conversation with somebody you have to get rid of. It might be a tough conversation in any realm of your business. But what you have to do this week, you have to identify when are you going to actually have those conversations, and I need you to have them. Because there's a good chance, no matter where you are in your business, whether you're small, medium, or whether you're enterprise or whatever it might be, there's some tough conversations that you have to have. Some of them are with yourself. What type of person do you need to become? What has to get done in and around your business that you can have a hard conversation with this week so it changes? Don't mind Sophia in the background. That's my cat. I got two cats. Got Quincy and Sophia. But yeah, guys, that's where I'm gonna bring this episode to a close. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that subscribe. I'd love to have you. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna be about it, not just talk about it. I know that there was a good amount of time that I was absent, and let me just show you what I got. That's all I'm gonna say. Put my money where my mouth is, as they say. But I hope that you have a great rest of your week. I hope you take action on the things that you have to take care of today. And I hope that you execute what needs to get executed this week. When I say you got this, it's not for motivational purposes. It's not to make you feel happy. It's to just reaffirm a fact that's actually true. So with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. I'm Jerome Carter. This is Everything Entrepreneurship. I hope you have a great rest of your day.